Hi everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast. Steve Buzza here, Buzz about golf. My partner in crime was here, but is no longer. And before we started this endeavor, there was not a dinosaur here, and there were not building blocks. Megan, and I hope she's okay, had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Overpower her, remove her from the room. We tried to do a review on what I think was just the most incredible day of golf, sport, life. McIlroy winning the Masters. We had some very in-depth, very thoughtful comments. I am going to summarize them here. I hope maybe the next episode, Megan will fill in some gaps. But the crazy thing is, Rory has just taken over the world with this. Well, certainly the world of sport. Everybody has an opinion. I just wanted to kind of reflect on a few things. We'll do a back and forth with Megan at a later date. But what an incredible Sunday. And it was incredible because sport is unpredictable. I try to explain it this way. A Disney film, you start with some evil, a villain, hard times. You didn't do adversity. And at the end, a lovely song comes on, usually a hit song, and you win. And you ride off into the sunset, the winner, the world is a happy place. McIlroy didn't get that script. He just didn't get that script. Just adversity, adversity, adversity. Now it's the easy win. No, I'm going to loop back into adversity. Disney films. You can have a sequel. You can have a happy ending and a sequel. Rory just didn't. He didn't seem to realize that. We had to have a sequel. We always say the Masters doesn't start until the back nine on the Sunday, and man, did it deliver. With what had happened to Rory in the past, it was like he has to get through that tee shot on 10. He did. 11 makes a bogey, but it's not the end of the world. It's a hard hole with Bryson going in the water, so doesn't matter. 12 is the one. Hits it in the middle of the green. When he was struggling after his bad tee shot on 10 in 2011, he 4-putted 12. He just rolled it up. You then go, 13. He hooked it in the stuff in 11, but just sensible. Hits it to the corner. It's tournament over. But Amen Corner has this way, and he hits I would say one of the worst wedge shots, I want to say, of his life. It was where he's trying to land that ball. That's a terrible shot. Almost, I don't know if he almost had an adrenaline dump, because he felt like he'd got through the adversity, got through the bit that he needed, and then all of a sudden it just turned into this incredible afternoon of, you just generally didn't know what was going to happen. I think the course was playing extremely hard, so players were making bogeys, but then the nature of the course, it does reward good shots. So there birdies, bogeys. It was fascinating because it was almost a diamond in the rough. There was a roughness to all of the players involved. When it comes to Rory, my honest opinion, I think the good shots he hit and the greatness that he showed, I think he kind of displayed a performance where it could have been a record-breaking winning score, like 21, 22 under. He then offset that with some really poor golf, and some really poor decisions. And not to be too disparaging, but he had moments where you would think that it was going to be another reason why it cost him another major, cost him the Grand Slam. He had those moments, but his excellence, his incredible gift, what he did in the good column outweighed the bad, and I think you can only sit back and go, we don't really appreciate how good Rory McIlroy is, because his good is at another level. And for anyone to be slightly above the level, and you've got to realize, in that field, the golfers are of such good standing. They are so talented, to not only just get slightly, but to get, it's a bit like Tiger Woods when strokes gained first came out. His iron play was twice as good as the second person. I think that's what we witnessed on Sunday. We've got someone who's so good, but then they almost have a vulnerability in them, as in they're human. When you sometimes look at the greats, not just in golf but in sport, they, like Tiger, had this ability to go into a mindset that was almost beyond human level. The amount of focus, the killer instinct that some of these, Michael Jordan had. Rory he has this innate, just incredible place he can go with his golf, but then he has this vulnerability that he's got this human side to him. It's and I think it just made for one of the greatest Sundays. We'll, like I said, when Megan is back, like and subscribe every Wednesday. I have not full foul on my promise. This will be coming out on Wednesday, but like it's probably too early to make statements like I just did. Like, where does it compare? But just the rawness of the event, it just showed sport. It was relatable. The great shot. So I'm going to talk about the great shots, and then I'm going to kind of leave it at that. The great shots Rory hit, and I think 15 just embroiled the whole feel of the tournament. He hit two of the greatest shots. You could argue that the eagle he made on the Saturday on 15, what a beautiful iron shot. That can't get beat. They're comparing it against the shot Tiger played. It's like that shot is one of the greatest shots ever hit. And then a mere 24 hours later, he's in a worse place. He hits an even better shot. So we can't relate to that. We can't relate to not only being able to get it to hook enough, but get the height to stop on the green. We can't relate to that. But on the Thursday, having a little lapse of concentration and chipping it in the water, we can relate with that. The 17th on Thursday missed clubs, chips it, 3 putts. We can relate to that. His double bogey on the first, we can relate to that. His awful wedge into 13, we can relate to that. That was the craziness, and not just Rory, but Justin Rose was the same. Some of the stuff he did was incredible, but then there was a few mistakes as well. And the 3-putt on 16 on the Saturday, not just. You go, oh, we shouldn't have done that. Captain Hindsight has never been wrong. Like another day he holds the first one, but then he doesn't have as good a day on the Sunday because he had nothing to lose. He just went for it. So for me, Rory is 3 best shots. The 2 I've just mentioned on 15, but the one that I think goes down as one of the best shots ever hit was his tee shot in the playoff, and the wedge shot into the tap in. That was it. But the tee shot, because if you've ever been to Augusta, it's so narrow, and as a kid, he wanted to win the Masters. When he's on the range, the amount of times he's hit a drive between 2 poles on a range with crappy range balls, going, no, I've just got to hit it through that gap to win the Masters. He did that on the 72nd hole, and then the way it played out, he still made bogey. So to stand back in the playoff, knowing that he'd kind of thrown it away, then Justin hits a sensational drive. The pressure is on, and to hit the drive that he did, like I said, Rory has this human side, but then you can then access a place that makes you godlike. And man, for me, best shot of his career, one of the best drivers of the golf ball ever. I think it's one of the best drives ever hit. And I might be I might still be in that bubble of, How Rory feels today, by the way. So this is the Tuesday afterwards. How Rory feels, the energy dumps and some of the mistakes he made, like the shot he hit into 17, the desperation in his call when he said go. He knew it was either close or I think he thought it was going to be the opposite. It was going to roll back down. And at Augusta, it doesn't roll to the fringe. It's gone. This is that ball at the top of its flight. Just, his whole career was on the line at that ball at the top of its flight. I don't think he would have recovered if he didn't pull it off. I'm the biggest Justin Rose fan. I never thought I would be in a situation where I'd be rooting against him in a playoff. But this is why I thought this Sunday was so poignant, and it was just from a sporting context because it didn't feel like there was going to be another time. I use that Disney analogy. At the beginning of the film, you fail and then you learn and you win at the end. This felt like it was the end, and I don't know who can recover from that. But when that ball was at the top of 17 and it landed and we saw it go close, I was tearing up. My heart rate was completely out of control. I'm not even playing. I'm just sitting down watching. So it's so easy to judge, well, why did you do this? That wedge shot. My heart was pounding just watching. So to hit that shot, to do the playoff, man, do I feel sorry for Justin Rose. 2 times he shot the winning score at the Masters and doesn't have the green jacket and all the things that go along with it. Gary Player, I think, always said he counts, if he lost in the playoff, he still counts it as a win because he shot the winning score. And don't usually agree with that, but twice for Justin Rose. I kind of feel like he deserves to be a +1 at that Champions dinner. I know that's not how it works, but you talk about deserving, but in that moment, I feel Justin can go on. He's just showing his hard work and his dedication. Is that for Rory? I felt like it was the end of the story. If it wouldn't recover from it if it didn't go down. We've got these shots on 15. We got 2 of the greatest shots ever hit, and one of the most clumsy, borderline idiotic shots to be hit. Again, I know it's easy me sitting here to say that. I probably hit it in the water. The only difference is my ball is thin and it gets in the water quicker. But can you see there were moments in the wedge shot on 13? The papers were written, Rory the winner or Rory's, done, and there was evidence of both. I think Rory's greatness shone through. He made it a lot harder than it needed to be. But is it meant to be easy to win a Grand Slam? So, interesting. This is not breaking news, and this is not insider news, and this isn't news coming from a man of intellect. Watching him in that playoff, I felt he was playing for his career. But I also felt if he wins the Masters, he'll win the PGA. I think that's how well he's playing. The governors have now been released from him. Man, that emotion he showed. But yeah, just incredible. But I'll leave you with this, and this is a fun fact that somebody might know out there. When was the last time 2 PGA events, so back-to-back PGA Tour events, the winner, so Rory this week at the Masters, over in Texas, Brian Harman won the week before. Both of them shot over par in their final round. When was the last time, back-to-back weeks, the winner has shot over par? It's crazy how that one over, especially of Rory, does not even scratch the surface of what happened. But I do find it interesting. It's so hard to win on tour. To have back-to-back weeks where people shot over. Augusta, there were birdies out there, but there were bogeys. It was it must have been electric being there. It must have been electric. If you were there, please get some comments down below. You must have watched it. I'm not even going to say if you watched it. You must have watched it. How did it make you feel? I couldn't believe how invested I was in the story. And like I said, I felt like it was the end of the story. The great news is Rory completed his story. If you watch WWE, I'm now going into a Cody Rhodes bit. WrestleMania is this week, so I'm excited about that. I've gone off topic. But yeah, he completed the story. He completed not just the Grand Slam, that it was the only bit that was missing from his career. Um, it was crazy. If Rory hadn't won, he did have one more chance at the PGA, or the time between majors was going to get bigger than when Tiger went from 14 to 15. And you think Rory's been in his prime. In that period, Tiger had lots of injuries, lots of off-course issues. So Tiger's was a redemption story. Like Rory's felt like it was the story. He was in his prime that time. And when we go back to when he won his last major, his fourth major. To think that it was going to be, was it 11 years, just under 11 years? To think that was going to be the case, it's unfathomable. But those shackles have been unleashed. I do feel like he'll win another one this year. I'm predicting the PGA, just getting back on the horse and going. But you can hear, I'm starting to feel it again. If we take anything from the week, he is a mortal. Rory is a mortal, but he can do godlike things. And I think everybody was dying for him to get that green jacket. He's got it. I think it's good for golf. Certainly good for Rory. Man, awesome. I'll leave it there. Absolutely awesome. This is me on the Tuesday night, by the way. I did do a full lesson of today. I did have lots of lessons, so maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm emotional because I'm tired. Maybe I'm emotional because it was one of the greatest things that has ever happened in sport. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Stay happy, stay safe. Hope to catch you soon. And thank God we're going to see Rory again. And the shackles have been unleashed. Let's see what the rest of 2025 happens. Scotty Scheffler wasn't far behind, though. Scotty will have things to say. I think golf's in a great place, and we're in for a great year.